Welcome back to Inner Light, where we explore the stories and ideas that shift how we think, create, and lead. Today, we are joined by Join Miles, an innovator, human performance expert, and visionary entrepreneur who is building an entire Pixar style universe designed to help children understand one simple yet world shaping truth: they matter. His work blends heart, imagination, and purpose in a way that speaks to both the child within us and the world we are trying to build around us. Let's dive into this remarkable mission. Welcome to the show, John. It's such an honor to have you.
It is such an honor to be here, Anya. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Mhm. So, John, what inspired you to create a universe specifically crafted to teach children their inherent value?
So, I have been studying this topic of what I call the mattering crisis for many years now. And a lot of my work has been focused on adults feeling that they don't matter. But the more I started to into this and do the research, what I found is that what is happening is the reason we have so many adults from generation to generation who feel unseen in their lives, invisible, is that it keeps getting passed down from one generation to the next. And it's getting worse with each one. And so currently in the United States, our Center for Disease Control and Prevention has found that 4 in 10 students here have persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. We have rising anxiety and depression amongst adolescents. And as I started to look at the reasons for this whole area of children feeling unseen, unworthy, that they never feel like they're enough kept popping up. So I decided that observing my own kids and their journey, that by the time a child reaches high school, much of the damage is already done. So, how do we start reaching children earlier when we can still have a formative time to shape their value system and to give them positive examples of what it truly means for them to see themselves in a different light. So that's why I decided that I wanted to start going after trying to solve this with children who are between 4 to 10 years old. So that is the backdrop.
That's amazing. And did a particular moment or memory spark the realization that this message needed to be delivered creatively rather than traditionally?
So what I wanted to do was to immerse children into an emotional ecosystem where they could see themselves through observing other characters that they could relate to. Because I think sometimes learning is best done by observing others. So that's where this whole idea of creating a storytelling universe came into being. So I played with this in a number of different ways. Do I use human characters to tell the story? Do I use animals? Do I use some other type of superhero to do it? And I came to the conclusion that I thought it was best to not use superheroes, but to try to have children see themselves by observing characters who they could actually become, as opposed to trying to see a superhero that might be out of reach for them. And then I made the decision that if we did this in a way that used characters in the form of animals to show these traits, it would be more universal. So you wouldn't have to worry about seeing a child who was maybe in India and you're in China and you feel like it doesn't relate to you. So I thought that using characters that were animals could be universal. And that's where this whole idea of basing the story around forest animals, in this case, owls and bluebirds and bunnies and foxes and animals like that, I thought was universal.
Yeah. And it's powerful how one moment of clarity can lead to an entire world capable of reshaping young minds.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to build a story where children could see themselves on their own vulnerability through the characters. So in You Matter, Luma, which is the first book in the series, it tells the story of Luma the bunny, who I think, like many kids, feels that they have something they want to share with their peers and with others. But oftentimes we lack the courage to do so because we worry about fear of other people's opinions. And so we end up not doing it. And then over time, regretting it and not expressing ourselves. So the whole thing here was Luma meets with one of her friends, Oliver the owl, who is not a mentor to her, but he's a friend. He's someone that the other friends turn to when they're looking for advice because he happens to see things differently. And he shows Luma that her voice and what she has to say makes the whole forest around her come to life. And the other animals want to hear what she has to say. And so that's how this journey unfolds, is through him, almost similar to the way that A Christmas Carol shows the story of Christmas past, future, and present. What Oliver is trying to show her is the ramifications of if she doesn't tell her story, what happens, but if she does tell her stories, how it brings joy and shows kindness and resilience and courage to the other animals, which then has a ripple effect on them doing the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And when building a narrative universe for children, how do you balance entertainment with meaningful psychology or emotional lessons?
I'm glad you asked that, and it's such a good question. So, I also host a podcast similar to you, and it's science based. So, I interview a lot of behavioral scientists, neuroscientists, positive psychologists, social scientists, and and I wanted to build the book on a lot of that science. So it had a firm footing in behavioral science and positive psychology, and also mindfulness techniques. But it it's difficult to do so in a children's book. And so this is where I really had to work closely with the illustrator, because you want to make many of these concepts come alive in the way that the illustrations are done, because kids aren't going to understand the words that you're using like adults do. So what the illustrator and I did was I built every single one of the scenes based on a different aspect of science that we were trying to explore. And some of it was covered slightly in the words, but more of it was used by different aspects of the scenes, such as using fireflies to create hidden layers that you pick up on as the book goes, or sprouts of new plants emerging to show growth. So we used a lot of symbols and also times of day to show different element to bring the science and the mindfulness practices to bear. But that was one of the trickiest things to accomplish when building the manuscript for this and then the illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And do you ever find that the most profound messages emerge from the simplest story elements?
So I think the story elements are key to this, because there has to be a flow. And What I did in this book is I didn't want the flow to be all positive because I was trying to show that sometimes when you're telling a story, sometimes when you're trying to express yourself, things happen. You're going to experience setbacks. You're going to experience forms of suffering. I did it in a way that kids would understand by introducing that sometimes weather changes and we experience storms that hit us unexpectedly, similar to storms in life that hit us unexpectedly, which could be the loss of a loved one or a sickness that happens to us or some other form of suffering. It could be a hurricane or an earthquake or something impacts our lives, and that you have a choice when that happens. I really value the work of Viktor Frankl, and in his work, how he said, even in suffering, we have a choice every day in how we show up. So I was trying to bring that to bear in the scenes as well to show that life isn't just sailing in perfect weather all the time. You are going to have storms throughout life, and it's how you adjust to those storms that helps you grow and become stronger. So I definitely use scenes to try to express that.
Mm-hmm. And that simplicity often becomes the bridge between a child's imagination and real emotional understanding.
Well, that is definitely the hope. And one of the keys I was trying to do with this book is that I think it's one thing for the kids to see it. I think it's another thing for the parents to reinforce it. So I was hoping as I was writing it that I was doing it for two different angles. One for kids to see themselves in the stories, but for parents to also understand the message and to see it in their own lives as well. And so in the book, towards the end, after the story is done, I create a mattering moment, which is an opportunity for the parent to discuss the book or a teacher or an educator with the child. And I, in this mattering moment, give questions that an adult can ask the child to have them see themselves in the story, because I think it's important that not only do you read the book, but that you apply what you learn by reading it. So I thought that that was an important thing. But then on top of that, I'm actually working with an Indian firm to build an application that we're calling Pass the Ripple. It'll be the Pass the Ripple Challenge, which is a program that translates the story into behavior. So once children are done reading the book, there'll be a QR code at the end of the book where they can uh, use that QR code to go to the website passtheripple.com, where they will receive a digital Ripple card prompting them to take their own Ripple journey, where they can create an act of kindness and track their impact and how far it flows throughout the world through the digital application. And what I wanted to do with this is to turn the book and this whole idea that Luma goes through of finding her voice and finding that she matters and that she is able to create ripples of kindness into measurable behavior that creates feedback loops in the children that reinforce a core truth that our small actions create large effects around the world.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And in today's world, children absorb content faster than ever. How do you ensure your universe nurtures confidence, resilience, and self worth instead of overwhelm?
Well, this is something that is really important. So it's one thing to build a book or an application or courses as an adult. It's another thing to see this through the eyes of a child. So as we've been going through user acceptance testing, and as I had people read the book, I thought it was important to expose it to educators, parents, and children to get all their inputs. And so, as an example, when we built Pass the Ripple, Uh, we originally built it to look clean and modern, and the feedback that we got from it was that it wasn't resonating as much as we had hoped with children who really wanted to see themselves in the story universe. And so we went back to the drawing board and redid the application so that it became an extension of the book, so that it carried forward the watercolors and the deep imagery and the characters, so that kids still felt that they were in this storybook type of environment, and that it wasn't a different emotional feel. And so we tried to do as much user acceptance testing um, in many different countries. So in India, the development team is testing it with kids. Part of my team is in Pakistan, so they're testing it there. We have part of the team in Nigeria, so they're testing it there. Part of the team is in Colombia, South America, so they're testing it there. And of course, here in the United States, because we wanted this to be used by children everywhere. So we thought it was important to make it a worldwide effort in trying to capture how people responding to it all over the world.
Yeah, definitely. And have you noticed particular themes that children respond to more strongly than others?
Yeah, one of the things that we were really trying to show is that when you discover how significant you are, we wanted to show kids that it's not about being the loudest or the fastest or the person who gets the best grades or the person who's the most liked or the most popular. What we are trying to convey is that it's about showing up. It's about caring deeply and trusting that your voice, your authentic voice, is what resonates the most. Because I think that is what's happening to parents as they grow up. To so many of us, is we lose that authenticity, and too many adults today are wearing what I call masks, that we feel like our authentic self isn't enough, and so we start to hide who we are. And what I wanted to show children is that, just like that quiet bunny Luma in the bustling forest, you are seen, you are valued, you are important for who you are. And that each of us has God given talents and capabilities, and we're all unique in our own way. And that's what makes us important. And it's how we show up for others that brings trust and meaning and autonomy and our energy to others. And so that's what we tried to do throughout the book. And the ecosystem, which we call the matteringverse, is to play on that and to show that it's everyday heroes that really shape the world. It's not the superheroes, it's the everyday heroes around us.
Yeah, it's interesting how children instinctively gravitate towards stories that reflect their hidden fears or unspoken dreams.
Yeah, that's what I found as I got further into this. And I am not, historically, I wouldn't have identified myself as a children's educator or a children's author. But it has been liberating, and in some ways, has helped me go back to my childhood self by doing this. So it's opened up for me the ability to look back upon my own life and to visit myself as a child, which has been uh, an unexpected aspect of this that I hope other parents get to take with them as well. Anya, thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be able to speak to your audience, because I think the message here applies worldwide. I think kids everywhere and parents everywhere are suffering. And as I look at loneliness and hopelessness and other things, this is a worldwide problem that we have to solve. And I am trying to help this next generation growing up with the idea that they can change the world collectively. And it starts with each one of them realizing that their kindness and compassion can change the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. John, thank you for bringing such depth, creativity, and purpose to the conversation. Your work reminds us that shaping the future begins with shaping the stories children grow up believing about themselves. And to everyone tuning in, let this inspire you to nurture confidence, whether in your own child, someone else's, or within yourself. Keep choosing narratives that remind you of your worth and continue working towards a world where every person knows they matter.